Before I start, I hear there's like some undergrads here for like extra credit. Yeah. Y'all have the look about you. I know because I'm also an undergrad, so I feel your pain. I'm not getting extra credit for this though. Sorry. So, when Jay asked me to do this, I was kind of in a bind because I think that we write to our weaknesses more than our strengths, and a few of my weaknesses are, number one, I can't write fiction. Well, I don't write good fiction, other than in the sense that everything we write is fiction. Like even the way we understand our lives is fiction. We kind of leave things out and reinterpret things to make sense of what's going on, and it ends up not actually being how it goes. And the other problem is that I don't have a very long attention span. My mind just sort of wanders off. So even for the Flash Fiction Slam, I kind of cheated a little bit. It was just sort of Flash Memoirs, which is what I'm going to read for you tonight is sort of me trying to overcome my weakness of I can't write anything long, and I also can't write fiction. So instead it's kind of the non-fiction memoir version of Flash fiction, if that makes any sense. I'll just do like maybe 3 or 4. I spent most of the night on the Lakeland front porch drinking wine and watching Florida Southern co-eds stumble back home beneath the spreading oaks. I woke up fuzzy, and when I got somewhat cleaned up and Advilled up and driving, Gillian Welch's voice convinced me to take the scenic route back to I-4. By which I mean I got lost singing along. Following the signs in one-way streets that all seem to lead to nowhere in particular, I came through a park across the street from a row of abandoned houses, rotten as the falling citrus out front. A couple sat on a truck bed by the street watching the clouds go by. He had on a Hawaiian shirt open to show off his Italian chest, bright and hairy as a billboard for a roadside strip club. She had more crystals on her than a geode does in it. But it was the nylon and wood in her lap that caught my eye. I always try to notice things that are alive, things that can sing. I stopped my Chevy. Rather, I drove past them, changed my mind, pulled into a spot reserved for disabled veterans, had a fit of guiltiness, pulled back out of said spot, parked on the street, got up, and walked out towards the pair. They stared at me like I had just gotten 2 hours of sleep and was still visibly drunk. "Oh, you got an axe," she said. Her name was Basha and he was Tony. She was a traveling musician, he a sound tech. He was a real listener. The only things that came out of his mouth were his name and his cigarette. We were trying to start a recording studio in Lakeland. That Lake Town sound, Basha called it. We're going to show the world. We played a few songs together. She had a soulful kind of phrasing, like Aretha Franklin singing Woody Guthrie tunes. She sang Proud Mary like it was a love song. A really funky love song. Big wheels turning under her fingertips, Tony rocking back and forth like the rhythm. She played a classical fingerstyle like me, only smoother, and she wore a mini speaker on her hip, so her quiet croons echoed across the retention pond. She adjusted the quartz on her forehead so the microphone headset would sit just right, expanding her energy one way or another. I sat in the back of her station wagon. The truck alongside belonged to Tony, and she told me how she'd driven it down from Detroit trading songs for gasoline, how she'd slept in the back with a guitar case for a pillow. She asked me for an original. I said I don't have any. "That's okay," she said. "When you play anything, you make it yours. You make it an original." A couple more folks stopped and listened as I crowed a song I learned off a busker in Bangor. Rye whiskey, I cried. If a tree don't fall on me, I'll live till I die. I only had an hour till a friend was supposed to capture my soul on an SD card back in Orlando, so I stood to get on the road. Basha said a prayer over me and hummed a long, mournful while I prayed silently to Jesus that her intentions be stronger than her aura. As I closed the door, she hollered, "You stay strong, boy. You got the fire." I needed that. I forget that sometimes. I believe we've all got the fire, but I forgot we includes me. So thanks, Basha. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, everybody. If you go down to the river, bet you're going to find some people who live. I sure as hell did. Thank you. I'm going to do one of the ones that I did at the Flash Fiction Slam. Another vignette of sorts. This is what's still beautiful about America, a breakfast diner with blue plastic seats where they serve cold powdered eggs and pancakes swimming in oily butter, middle-aged waitresses calling you honey and pouring grainy coffee the color of the backs of eyelids into your cup faster than you can drink it, a table of innocently bigoted graybeards holding their bacon-filled bellies, laughing about fishing and Bible studies, an elderly couple motionless except when the man's basset hound eyebrows leap up at the sight of a server who knows him by name. A pair of white, formerly blonde-haired ladies having a polite verbal brawl over whose child has been more of a disappointment. A young guy visibly regretting taking a girl out at such an early hour. Remnants of someone else's syrup sticking in your forearms to the tablecloth, and you, alone and distant in the corner booth with everything breaking down, but feeling okay, feeling just fine. In this diner, all the problems, from the immediate issues of a busted carburetor and having no bed to sleep in, to the more general yet pressing matters of dwindling bank accounts, fading friendships, unfound love, white guilt, and the eventual heat death of the universe, it's all somehow sealed out, somehow negated for an hour by happy people and the kind of food that will kill you faster than cigarettes. And the sun's coming steamy through the window. You go to pay the bill. They undercharge you. You make up the difference in the tip. There's a bell chiming as the door swings shut behind you. Thanks. And even though this is a prose reading, I'm going to do some poetry anyway, because poetry is like what I mostly do.
No poems.
No poems?
No poems.
Well, whatever, you've lost. Which one? Yeah. Alright, let's do one more. 72 miles per hour with the windows down, singing softly to Bob Dylan, the tires singing along too. The cow pastures and the pine trees framing the asphalt. We're driving east, aviators working overtime across the dawn. She's let her hair down and it flows across the headrest of a passenger seat. Her curls bounce and flit like small birds in a city park. She asks if she can hold my hand. I don't hear her over the music and the wind, so she leans in and asks again, straight in my skull. Her warm breath enters my body through my ear canal, flows down to where it connects to my throat. I feel it spread via the lungs to my capillaries, sink and escape through my toenails. Yes, please. Her small fingers cover the back of my palm on the shifter. Her skin is a color almost like the sky around the sunrise. Everything that happened later, everything that perhaps would have taught me some kind of valuable lesson if I could have made any sense of it, none of all that matters anyway. What matters, what comes to mind when I think of her is that moment. Steering with my peripheral vision, staring behind her sunglasses, right through her brown eyes, wanting to drive the car right between her lips to spend a lazy weekend in the space beneath her collarbones. You just kind of wasted my precious time. Afterwards, I turned to that song for solace. Somehow I'd never heard it until she popped the mixtape into my dashboard. I learned the chords by heart, let my fingers say what I couldn't. That day, rushing towards an ocean so fast as though we thought it wouldn't wait for us, we listened and sang along without hearing the future contained in that old song. Older than our parents almost, but young to us. In retrospect, not a moment was wasted. Not a stolen glance, not a single tentative kiss. So don't think twice, babe. I've sat and wondered why enough for the both of us, and I still don't know nothing. I hear that rooster crowing and the sun's coming up again over the east coast, just like it did that day. I watch it just like I did every day since I was old enough to drive. Old enough to ride Highway 50 straight to its beginning on the Indian River. When the morning air is thick enough, you can stare right at the sun, and that's the only time it shows itself to be a perfect circle. It's all right, baby. It's all right. Thank you, guys.